So we started this by saying, let's say that you're going to buy one of these cars. They say that they're going to be listed at $30,000. We're going to use 7% interest, and we're trying to figure out if you have a 7-year loan, how much the payment would be. So we used an app called the TVM Solver, and it was under apps. So if you're trying to follow along on your TI-84 or 83 calculator, you hit the apps button and find the TVM Solver. Basically, hit enter a couple times. And then you have a bunch of rows you got to fill out. Say, gee, n equals what? No, n does not equal 30,000. Look at your app. Oh, maybe you did it wrong. Did you compare with that kid in front of you? You should do that. All right, I'll call on somebody else then. It is not n equals 30,000. N is how many payments you're going to make. All right. Congratulations, you win. What's n?
N is 84.
84, good. And that's because you had 7 years times 12 months. That's why it's 84. That's how many payments you're going to make is 84 payments. All right. Now you can toss that back to me. I doubt you really want the shattered mint. All right. So, Libby, what's the next thing? It's not n, it's I. What's that? It's interest. So what do you put? 7 for 7%. Good. All right. What's the next one after that? Nordstrom. After I.
30,000.
Yeah, but what is it?
Oh,
PV. What does that stand for?
oh, principal value.
Yes, principal or present value is 30,000 because that's how much we're borrowing. All right. Next line after that, please.
Is it negative?
Is the present value negative? No. All right. What's the next one after present value? Probably future value? And if you're borrowing the money, does you want... Oh, wait. Oh, it's payment next. Sorry. So payment, we don't know. That's the whole point of this app, is to tell us the payment. Well, then you're going to do alpha solve on it later. So PMT, just start with 0 for now. And then the last one is future value. The other two you're going to leave at 12 per year and end. Those are the ones after this. Future value you want to be 0 because you want the loan to be paid down. This right here, you'd go with get the blinky cursor right on that, and then use the alpha and solve, which is right above enter. And if your answer started with a -4, you're doing it right. Raise your hand if you got that answer. Okay, good. Would you read it to me, Libby? -4 what?
-452.8.
Just 8?
80.
80. Okay, good. That means the payments on this car would be $452 a month. Now, is that the only cost of owning a car? Is buying the car? No, there's some other costs. You got to pay for the electricity to run it, and something you guys probably wouldn't know, but I have an electric car, and I can tell you, if you charge it at night, when you get these special rates called off-peak rates, it's only 2 cents a mile for the electricity. So the electricity is pretty cheap. One thing that will not be cheap is the insurance on it, because, you got a car driving itself out there. It's probably going to not be super cheap to insure. But this is one of your things you'd have to pay to buy that car. All right, then the next thing we do is go over to the y equals button on your calculator. And if you're still in sequence mode, then it's going to ask you for n min. And that's 0 because you want u sub 0. And it's equal to 30,000. We don't put that in until later on the calculator, though. UN equals UN minus 1. And then our interest goes here, 1 plus 0.07 divided by 12. And then our payment, which we just figured out, was negative 452.8. Okay. Now, if you were going to put this in a calculator, though, it's going to ask you n min, which is that. It's going to ask you u sub n, which is all that. That's like the hardest part, putting that into the calculator. And then the last thing you haven't told the calculator yet, the third line, second line here goes UN. That's all that. And the third row in the calculator is, you got to tell it that it's a $30,000 loan. Now, the thing that this can do, that the other app can't, is it can tell us how much total we paid for the car. So, please go to U sub 0 on the table. Some of you will need to reset your tables to start at, table start at 0. And of course, you'll see that you owe $30,000 at first. And then after 1 month, you will owe less than $30,000, and eventually it gets down to paid off. All right, I want to see that your table looks like this, and then the next number is like 29,000 or so. If you entered this correctly, your table will look like this. So I don't know exactly how much that actually is. Dice of Destiny. Who should I call upon? And if you don't know, keep in mind saying I don't know just means I'm going to walk you through it. So you don't get out of it, but just saying I don't know. All right, got the wrong hour here, sorry. There we go. Jonathan, the dice have chosen you. On your table, the first line was 30,000, right? What's the next one?
29,722.
Good. Do you get how that means you've paid off about 300-ish of your loan to buy the car? Okay, cool. Where do we go to see the important part, the moment that the car got paid off? Would you agree that it took a number of months, a lot of months? How many months did it take?
A lot.
Well, it was on your TVM solver. You remember that? 84 months. So I would not arrow down 84 times. I would go to the table settings and everybody look at U sub 84. If it's a negative number, that's a good thing. That means they owe you money back. Nordstrom, what does U84 tell you?
It's still, it says negative 2.17.
So at that moment, they owe you $2.17 back. All right. So I taught you this yesterday, but let's see if you learned it. How much total did you pay for the car? And don't say 30,000. You just made payments. You know how much the payments were. You just made 84 of those payments. And you know how much the payments were. Figure out how much total you paid for the car. It was way more than 30,000. I'll pause for a second, see if you learned anything yesterday. Okay. Do you get that in a difficult math class, you sometimes have to take notes so that you know what to do? If you're not sure what to do right now, you better write this down because this is exactly what you'll have to do on your project. So maybe you should write this down. To find the total paid, you take your payments, which we know, it's right there, negative 452.80, your payments, times your months. How many months was it? It was 84 months. Minus what they owe you.
What about interest?
Okay, just one thing at a time. I'm doing total paid right now. I will do interest in a second, but all right, so what is your payments? Well, they were 452.8. Now, if you said negative, I'd understand, but that's actually going to mess you up right now. Just use the normal number, 452.80 times 84 months. That gives you the grand total amount you paid. Then you can just simply subtract this number. If you did it as a negative, then you'd have to add it, and that'd be, to me, more confusing. So, what is 452.8 times 84?
452.8 times 84 is 38,035.2.
There we go. And then would you please subtract $2.17 from that? 38033.03. Raise your hand if you got the same thing as I did. Okay, if you didn't get that, even more important that you should probably. Okay, hold on.
It's 2
He's saying 452.8 times 84 is not this?
U sub 84 is not negative 2.17.
Oh, okay, let's talk about that.
117.
Did you tell me the 217?
2.117.
Oh, I'm sorry. I misheard the kid. It's 2.117, and that means we'd have to change it to $2.12. So this has got to be $2.12, and that will totally change my final answer. Can somebody tell me then what it does come to? I was off in the pennies, right? 0.08. Anybody verify 0.08 at the end? Okay, good. All right. Now, the next question, I bet you can figure this out. How much of that money that you spent was interest?
I got this. That minus 30,000.
Yeah, you just take away the 30,000, which was for the car. And that I can do in my head is $8,033.08. Now, don't be mad at the company for that. You probably borrowed the money from a bank to buy the car. So the bank made $8,000 of interest on you. But hey, why should they just give you $30,000 for free? That's not realistic. You can't just walk up and say, give me $30,000 and I'll give it to you later. No, nobody will do that. So they charge you money for that. They charge you what's called interest. So that is your interest. All right. Any questions? All right, we're going to make one little tweak. And I want to look at this. Remember how we assumed 7% interest? Way back here? I'm not going to have us change the whole problem, but I want to know how much would the payment be if you had to pay 9% interest versus 7% interest? Go back to your TVM solver and just change it to 9% interest. Negative 482 point what? 67? Would you agree that's about $30 a month more? That's a lot of money. $30 a month for 30 years? No, 7 years, sorry. $30 a month for 7 years? I mean, we're rounding here, but $30 a month times 84, let's just talk about that. $30 a month times 84 payments. What is 30 times 84? $2,520 if the bank sticks you with the higher interest rate. They have to be very careful to not discriminate against you, but they do charge people different interest rates. So if you get the 7%, you're going to save $30 a month. How do you get the better interest rate? It has to do with your credit score. All right. Do you agree that the total you spent was $38,000 on this car? Then the project would make you now consider, what if, and the project doesn't start today, but the project does start on Monday. The project would make you consider, what if instead you had waited and saved up the money and then bought the car all at once? Do you get that when you buy the car all at once, that it'll cost you $30,000? It won't cost you $38,000. It'll cost you $30,000. Okay? So Do you get that along the way, when you save your money, you're not just going to put it in like your sock drawer. You're going to put it in the bank so it'll actually earn some interest. If you're smart, you won't just put it in your checking account. You get at least, nowadays, you get about 5% interest. We did this project a couple years ago, and literally you could get like 0% interest because they never gave you any money for sticking money in the bank. But now, if you have it in the right kind of account, you can get about 5% interest. So I want to finish with that kind of question. So everything's going to be different. Now, we're going to be saving until we've got 30,000. Can anybody think of how we could set this up so that we could save till our future bank account is worth 30? Yes.
Do you do the apps thing?
Yep.
For the final value, you put 30,000.
Yes, future value 30,000. Nice. Okay. Now, let's do that. But one of the hardest parts is I don't know how many months it's going to take. So you can solve for that. You start with 0 because you don't know how many months it's going to take to save up for this. So leave your n as 0. Your interest rate, let's all use 7. Keep life simple. We'll all use 7% interest. Our present value is you start with no money. You have no money in the bank, but we'll start saving some amount per month. And now in this case, the payment, you get to pick the payment. Now, we have to be realistic though. So in the project, we don't just let you like say anything you want for the payment amount. Like, I'm going to save 10,000 a month. You might not have 10,000 a month to save. So how do we figure out the payment? We can't calculate two different things. So listen, your payment is going to be 15% of your monthly income, because that's what most people figure that you can afford to save out of your income is 15% of your monthly income. So do you get that some of you are going to make a lot of money per month and you'll be able to save more? Others of you are going to be like teachers and you'll make less. And you'll get 15% of that you can save. And it'll take you longer to save for your car. So we are going to have to make a few assumptions. Like you have to actually decide, okay, I'm going to imagine a world where I'm like a nurse. And we're going to make you look up how much nurses make. And then you can afford 15% of that. So let's walk through that real quick. I'm going to say that a nurse, I'm making this number up, but you can Google it, an average starting salary for a nurse might be, let's say, 60,000. Average teacher salary, just so you know, around here is about 45,000 or so. Okay? Average engineer, it's like 75,000. I know, because I got 2 kids that are engineers. I'm not saying they make that now. They make more now because they were a starting engineer at first. All right, so we're going to go with 60,000 for the nurse. And then do I just times it by 15%? No, I got to figure out the monthly first. 60,000 divided by 12 will tell me how much a month they make. What is 60,000 divided by 12?
5.
I think it's 5,000.
I'm so sorry.
It is 5,000. And then can we save all 5,000 of all of our income for the car? No, you can't. You got to buy food. You got to actually live somewhere. Okay, so you can afford 15% of it. Don't worry, this is all spelled out in the project. You don't have to remember all of this. But if I now take this, what is 5,000 times 0.15? This nurse should be able to save $750 a month towards the car.
Nice.
Do you get that's way more than the payment would have been? The payment was only going to be like $500 a month. But we get to save 15% of our salary until we finally got enough money. So now it's one last actual like problem, and then you guys are going to be off to doing your homework. So just see if you can hang with this. Do you get our payment? We just figured it out. It's right here. That's the payment we make, is $750. Why is the present value 0? Help me understand that again.
Because you have nothing in your.
You have no money to start with, and you're saving up for the car, okay? N is 0 only because we didn't know what it was. Now you can solve for N, and you can see how many months it will take. So you go, put your little cursor on this, and it blinks, and then you go alpha solve. And if you got lost, I understand. But you now can put in all of these. Payment is this. Interest is that. Present value is that. Alpha solve this, and you can tell me how many months it'll take. All right. Jonathan, what did you get for how many months when you alpha solved it?
I don't think I got it right. I got negative 45.
Can anybody verify 45? All right, a lot of people got 45. Okay. So, now negative 45 I know feels weird. And that's probably because we didn't put in a negative payment. Oops. I just realized that. That payments, when they come out, do you remember that when we calculated them before they come out negative? We should put in negative 750. I'm sorry. Everybody change that to negative 750. And then alpha solve it, and I bet it'll be a positive number of months then. What is it now? Anybody verify 36-ish? All right. So then, this is what's cool. You needed to make 36 payments of $750, and that's actually going to be less than $30,000. Because why? Because you earned interest. $36 times $750. What is 36 times 750?
36 times 750 is 27,000.
Do you get that the person who saved up for the car only actually had to put in 27,000 and then it grew with interest and then they could pay the 30,000 all at once? That's a pretty big difference between 27,000 that you paid for the car and the other one was like, yeah, 38,000. So obviously the one way is cheaper, but how long did we have to wait? 36 months, which is 3 years. And so a lot of people are going to say, I don't want to wait 3 years. So now, also, if this thing actually worked, I want you to think for a second, think like a business person. If this actually worked and you were able to earn $2,000 a month from having this car, if it actually works and it goes out there and it earns money and you earn $2,000 a month from it, you might not want to wait 3 years for that? I mean, 3 years of earning $2,000 a month is a lot of money. We're not going to make you figure that in too, but it's true. If I knew that this car was really going to earn me a couple thousand a month, I want it now, even if I had to pay for interest. All right. There, we've talked it through. And honestly, these or something like these are going to be running around soon. And if they really do get the cost of like a Uber kind of a thing way down to like $1 a mile, a lot of people will pick that to go to the ball game because you don't have to pay for parking especially, or to go to the airport because again, you don't have to pay for parking. Anytime you would have to pay for parking, people will be like, let's just get one of these. It'll be way cheaper because you don't have to pay for parking. All right. And plus, you get to sit in the car and nobody has to drive. You can screw around in there. You can, like be texting everybody. You can nobody has to focus on driving. All right. Okay. So that's enough. And now, if you actually took notes on how to figure out these payments and things, that'll help you when you're doing your project. I hope you took some notes. All right. Yes.
How do we know when to use the TMV solver and when to use the like U1 thing?
That's a general question. I'm going to repeat it for the people that are listening to the video at home. How do you know whether you use this thing, the TVM solver, or the other thing? I'm just going to tell you that the TVM solver is used mostly. You ready for the answer? The TVM solver, this app, is used mostly to figure out your payments or to figure out how many months it'll take to save up. If you want one of those two things, like if you already were told the payments, then you don't need the TVM solver. Unless you need to figure out how many months it's going to take. So those are the two questions it'll answer for you: is how many months will it take, or how much should the payments be? That's what that's good for. That's a very good question. All right, so now you have a Schoology quiz. Go ahead and open that up, and you have a lot of time to work on it. I would happily answer questions about the Schoology quiz up at my desk, but that's all I got for you for today.